All right, everyone, welcome back to the Fusion Hub, where we mash up business, culture, and community in one ugly mess, and then we try and take it apart and unjumble it for you. So we are still on the phone with Lacy Boggs from LacyBoggs.com. I got it right. Woo woo, go
Yes,
me.
thank you.
Um, and uh, and and before we took our short break, we were talking about engaging folks on social media, and the pace of social media and how fast and or slow your audience could be receiving your message. But more often than not, the pace is very fast on social media because everybody's out there trying to be a social media star. So as a small business owner, um, what can I do to kind of help keep my business up front? If I don't want to pay for ads, I can't afford to pay for ads. What can I do to keep my content recycling in front of my target audience? You
Sure.
know, on on frequently enough so that they notice or become a
Yeah.
or I feel like that old pair of socks to them, right? They're comfortable. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
they know you. They
Nobody
trust
like,
you.
but yeah, nobody likes old socks. But so yeah, so how do we just continuously engage our audience?
Yeah. So the thing to remember is that social media could be a full-time job, right? Big companies have a full-time person or multiple full-time people taking care of their social media for them. Often small business owners don't have that luxury, right? We don't have the luxury of hiring somebody full-time to be on Twitter or whatever. Um, I would say that it's really important to sort of set expectations for yourself and for your business about what you can manage. You have to manage your own energy, especially as a CEO or small business owner. You're wearing a lot of hats and you're being pulled in a lot of different directions. So set expectations for yourself. In terms of how do we stay in top of mind? The deal with social media is always the more the better, but that's not really helpful when we're asking that question,
Mhm.
right? So ask yourself, what is the minimum I can do well at this point? And I would say that for with the exception of Twitter, most social media channels, you want to shoot for posting once a day during the business week. If you can do that and be consistent about it, that's a really, really good benchmark. If you can do more, fantastic. But if you can't, that's okay. Like, don't beat yourself up. Um, in terms of blogging, I would say once a week would be a great goal. But if you can only do it every other week, great. I would say no less than once a month, or people will forget about you. Same goes for email. Once a week is a really nice, solid cadence where people won't get annoyed with you, but they'll also remember who you are. But again, if you can't if that's too much, every other week is fine. Again, no less than once a month, or they might forget who you are. So typically when we're having this conversation, then the business owner is like, well, I don't have time to do all of that. So what's most important? And the answer there is usually to pick a platform, pick one and do it well, right? So pick one
Mhm.
channel
Yep.
and do it well. Don't try to be everywhere. Be in one place. You mentioned, Chris, that like your people are on LinkedIn. So if you were asking me that question, I'd say, great, focus on LinkedIn, be present there, do it well, and don't worry about Facebook. Don't worry about Twitter. Don't worry about, right? Like just pick one. I also always recommend that people try to build their platform on their own land. And what I mean by that is you want to be able to own what you're building, whether that's on your website, on your own email list, etc. Um, if you've been at this social media game any amount of time, you know that Facebook can mess with the algorithm, and all of a sudden, what was working yesterday is not working today. So, we don't really own our audiences on any of the social media channels in the same way we would own a website audience, a podcast
Mm.
audience, or even our email list, right? You certainly have to use a company to send out your emails, but you can download that list of names and take it with you. So, you own that in that sense. So put your thought leadership, put your big pieces, put your big meaty good stuff on your own platform, and then
Mhm.
use all those other channels to send traffic back to that.
Okay.
That's like the big picture what I usually recommend.
So I and it's it. I'm glad we are having this discussion. I saw something in a business magazine earlier in the week that suggested that the big LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, they don't like for you to link back to your website because it takes
Mhm.
the eyeballs off of their platform.
That is true. They really don't like that very much, because it's just what you said, it takes traffic away from their platform. There's a few different ways to get around it. On Facebook in particular, one of the best known ways to get around it is you make a post and you say, "The link is in the comments." I expect them to figure this out and start dinging those posts anytime
Uh,
now, but for now, that's one way to get around it. On LinkedIn, you can syndicate your content. So LinkedIn has an opportunity where you can create an article on your LinkedIn profile. So if you've written a blog, for example, on your website, a few days later, a week later, you can take that same blog post and put it in an article format on LinkedIn and then link to it from there. People will be
uh,
more likely to see it in your algorithm that way. So there are ways around it, but I would still, even if you don't put in a link, you could say, visit my website to read more, and they know where your website is, hopefully, or they can find it in your profile pretty easily.
right.
But you're right. You're right. There's all these tips and tricks we have to use to sort of overcome the algorithms.
Yeah, because I mean they make money, uh, which I think is important to remember. They make money when eyeballs stay on their page, just like you make money
Exactly.
when eyeballs go to your page. They're in the same game. They're surfing for eyeballs or trying to catch eyeballs. So
Hmm.
that's that's important to for small business. And I think uh, for them to remember, Facebook and LinkedIn don't care about your company, right?
It's true. Even if
So
you're paying them money
yeah,
for
I mean,
advertising, they don't
they
really
don't
care
even know
very
who
much.
you are. So,
Yeah.
so, so you know, do the best you can to help feed the algorithm. And
Hmm.
you know, one of the things I get into this discussion with my IT folks all the time when I'm beating them up for more SEO and more click through from my social media is whether I have a one page scroller or I have 5 pages for my website.
Hmm.
And of course the 5 pages is a lot more content, but it's a lot more opportunity to get picked up by in your SEO campaign.
Yeah.
But to that end, um, because like I'm busy, right? Everybody's busy, 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 and I want to engage with my clients every day. I end up recycling my content, right?
Sure.
So I'll write a yep. So how do let's say I write a blog post. How long should I kind of milk that for lack of better word? How long can I milk that blog post, or how long can I rerun that same lead magnet or that same uh, you know trust building ad on
Hmm.
social media?
I mean, the short answer is pretty much indefinitely if you are bringing in new
Okay.
people all the time to your audience because they haven't seen it, right? We tend to think because we've seen it all and we're sick of it, that everybody else is sick of it as well. But that's typically not the truth. If you are consistently adding new people to your social media following or to your email list or whatever it is, those people have not seen your greatest hits, and so you can definitely reuse
Mm,
those often. I would say probably like when I write a blog post, I'm going to promote it heavily that first week that it's out because it's new, right? And everybody loves something new.
hmm
But then I'm gonna, if it does well, if I can say, yeah, that got pretty good engagement on social or on my website, I can put it into rotation then forever essentially, as long as it's still relevant to my business and sort of an evergreen topic. It hasn't gone out, it's no longer useful or something, you want to pull it out, but as long as it's still relevant to your business and kind of an evergreen topic that people are interested in, you can just keep plugging it over and over again. Now, if you're plugging the same blog post every Wednesday, people are going to notice. But if you
yeah.
have enough that you're rotating through, 15, 20, 35, 50 different posts over time, um, honestly, most people
hmm
are not going to notice, because the other thing we need to remember is Not every person on your email list opens every email. Not every person who follows you on social media sees every single post, right? So I think actually we can repurpose that content way more than we would think we might ought to, right?
That's interesting. Yeah, yeah. So I have, I don't know, 20 blogs on my website, and I from what I'm hearing, and I'm really just confirming what I'm hearing here. So I
Mhm.
put up a new piece of content blog on my website. I run the heck out of that thing every day for the first 2 weeks, and then I put it into a cycle where maybe I'm only hitting it every other week, once every other week, or and then as you know 120 days later, I'm putting it out once a month,
Yeah,
something like
yeah,
that. So
that's
it just
exactly right.
and that actually that actually reduces the amount of content that I have to create or have pay to have created. So
Exactly.
it's
And I
it's
think too if
efficient.
you yeah, if you even just switch up how you talk about it. So if you just write a different blurb, if you have 5, 10 different versions of a blurb saying this is what this is about, go click the link, that even gets you even more length, right? More breadth of time you can use that because they're not seeing the exact same caption on social media every single time. You're actually making it even bigger. Yeah, I often recommend that when you write a blog post or do a podcast, this works for podcasts or videos too. Um, Either you do it or have someone on your team do it. Take the time to actually write anywhere to like 20 to 50 little social media blurbs that are different, and then you've got enough for a year, right? To keep pushing that out at different times.
Interesting. Interesting stuff. Love it. Love
Yeah.
everything about it. See, I'm already saving money, and we've only been
Oh,
talking
good.
to each other for about 50 minutes. Yeah, yeah. I love it. Um, so, let's see. We talked about social media. We talked a little bit about websites. Um, what else do you think it's important for the listeners to take away for the day?
Yeah. I think the takeaway, at least what I'd like you to take away, is small business owners in particular, you can't be everywhere. You can't do everything. You have to kind of prioritize. So think about where your most powerful platform is going to be. I actually call it that, your power platform. What's your power platform? And so, for you, Chris, you like to have these conversations. Maybe it's a radio show or podcast for a lot of people, right? If you're a decent writer and you like to write, maybe you're doing blog posts. If you like to be on video, maybe you have a YouTube channel or a vlog of some kind. Figure out what that power platform is for you. And that's where your thought leadership lives, right? That's where you really are communicating with your customer. And then figure out how to delegate and outsource the other pieces. And that will free up so much of your life, right? Because if you're creating that core piece of content on your power platform, a smart assistant or social media manager or whoever it is can pull quotes out from that and generate content for social media all day long, that's still in your voice, that's still your thought leadership and what you believe, it's still relevant to your brand, but somebody else can do that. And so the more you can get in that habit of thinking like, okay, where's my power platform that I need to contribute, that only I can do, and then how do I let other people do the other stuff?
Yeah, that's a great point. And that from I'm a leadership consultant, right? So culture, leadership, developing healthy cultures, and one of the things that I always inevitably end up talking to my clients about is how much time are you spending, are your folks spending doing the activities that they are the best at, right? Because
Hmm.
when we're doing the activities that we're really good at and we enjoy, we're generally happier, we're more engaged with what we're doing,
Yeah.
and the easier that your day becomes, the more satisfied you are when you leave work. Same concept here. If I understand what you're saying, if I like doing videos, focus on doing that, because you're going to be much
Hmm.
happier, more satisfied with your output. If you're a better writer, which I am not, I can't stand writing, then maybe I shouldn't do that. Maybe I'm not the best person to do that. And by doing it and, sucking up and saying, oh, I'm just going to plow through it, I'm just going to do it, I'm actually doing myself a disservice because it's so painful for me.
Mhm.
And it just, for a lack of better term, it's soul sucking, right? It's excruciating for me. I don't like doing it. And so I'm actually doing myself a disservice and lessening the quality of my own because I'm forcing myself to do things I don't like to do and I know I'm not, or I believe I'm not good at.
Right.
So that
Right.
makes a lot of sense. So kind of, stay at your power center there on the platform that is the most advantageous to you. And then, you know, at, at, at worst, you feel better about what you've done. At best, you feel better about what you've done and it's effective.
And it's more effective. Exactly.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and a lot of our clients when they come to us, they're like, I don't wanna write, but I know I need this content for my website or for SEO purposes, whatever it is, and so we help them stay in their zone of genius. Like if they're a verbal processor, we can interview them, or they can, record a video or something for us, and then we take it and turn it into an article, because they don't love to write. That's not their zone of genius. And so we're still taking their thoughts, their ideas, their thought leadership, but we've eliminated the problem for them, that like they hate writing or it takes a really long time or whatever it is. So finding the places where that you can uh, eliminate the bottleneck that you've created, for yourself there, is super helpful and makes everything more
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah, because I'll spend 10 minutes going, should there be a comma there or should there not be a comma there? Right. And
Right.
before you know it, all that time that I dutifully set aside to do my content writing has now been wasted because I can't decide whether that comma belongs there or not. So
100%, right? And
uh,
you could,
and
in
it,
theory, you could hand that to somebody who is a grammar nerd like me, and I know where the content where the commas go.
ex- exactly. Yeah, I'm the world's worst for Oxford commas. But so at any rate, so we looks like we have about 5 minutes here. So, uh, Lacy, the last question I always ask every guest is, what gives you hope? And the reason I ask that question is my business is what's called a benefit corporation, and we donate all of our profits to charity, and we do that in three specific areas. One is food insecurity, two is creating education opportunities, and the third is criminal and social justice reform. And we do that because we have a vision of what we want our community to look like, and we have a hope that one day it's going to look like that. So uh, you know what gives you hope for the future, that you are going to see, to that community that you see for yourself in the future is going to appear?
Yeah. I think right now what gives me hope is, being a part of the change around the way we do work and the way,
Mm.
workplaces are structured. I mentioned earlier we're a digital company. I have all my team is entirely remote. Some of them I've actually never met in person. Our clients are all remote. But what I really enjoy about what we do is the ability to change up what it means to work in a company. And what I mean by that is, I see this a lot in the circles I run in with entrepreneurs online. They're trying to change what it means. What does equitable pay look like? What does, time off look like? What about mandatory vacation time? What does it mean to have a bereavement leave policy in place? What does it mean to pay your people well? All those things are really important to me, and I think if we're going to keep going as a society, we have to make some big changes. Especially, during the pandemic, we found out that the most important workers are sometimes the ones who are being paid the least, and have the least,
For sure.
recourse, right? And that's
Hmm.
not a great way. I love being a part of the new economy, where I can say, I'm going to pay my people really well, and I can afford to do that. I'm going to, help them have time off. I'm going to help them create lives where they have a life that's not just working. All
Right.
that's super important to me, and the fact that there are quite a few people in my circles, at least, who are doing that kind of work and thinking about those kind of things. Definitely gives me hope that maybe we aren't doomed as a capitalist society. We can move towards some more equitable processes and practices.
Well, that is indeed a grand uh, picture of the future, and I
Something to hope
and
for. Something to hope
and
for.
I hope that all of that and more comes true. It has been a pleasure having you on. You are absolutely 100% welcome to come back and be a friend of the show. And I
Thank
look
you.
forward to talking to you again.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right. And to the listeners, I hope you have a great Friday and a great weekend. And we will talk to you again Thursday morning at 6 a.m. right here, 106.1 FM, ESPN Richmond. Have a good one.